own implementation. So what it is this implementation? Okay, just I want to give that perspective. So in future, at least not now, we have that implementation property mostly to identify what all the dependency parameters and what all the primary script. If it is a scripting component, what is the primary scripting? And if it is a dependency, what all the jar files or what all the dependencies that we want to include for the particular component. And mostly we are not bothered about right now this primary and the dependency. In the later point of time, if you try to pack, if you try to create a Docker instance or Docker image from that CBA file, at the time this will come into effect. But right now we want to bother about this operational host. The operational host, it's a place or it is a parameter which tries to tell during that orchestration flow whether this particular node type has to execute in that same environment or different cluster member environment. So assume that you have a definition, you have a node type implementation distributed across multiple Docker containers or Docker instances, you could say, in that case. So someone is trying to orchestrate the multiple containers. So in that case, this property it is going to tell that whether the particular node type execution has to happen inside the same VM or it's like it's in a remote VM. So that is all about this property called operational host. And another important property is like a timeout. Right now we are not bothered about the timeout. Okay, so we want to model the timeout. So how much time we need to execute for a particular node type or in terms of a particular component, what is the maximum time limits that we want to execute. So that is called a timeout. So we have a timeout and operational host. Right now, all our implementations, it's a self. Self means it will be in the same host. So what I'm trying to say, it's like during the designing part itself, we want to, or during that capturing, the model capturing itself, we want to capture these two important parameters where that particular node type it is going to execute and as well as what is the maximum timeout in seconds in order to execute so that we can get a timeout response when it processes the actual time. Okay, so where exactly it comes, let me take one of that blueprint model and try to look into that. If you try to auto-generate or regenerate the model from any of from our JUnit test cases or from our DSL, these two parameters will be automatically generated. Just let me see that whether it is there or not. Yeah. So in a DSL, we have that property. We have two properties. One is a timeout and operational host. So similarly, in a JSON also, we have that similar property. You can capture those properties so that automatically you will come to know that for a particular node template execution, so how much time and where it has to execute. So this is all about implementation. Any other questions? Yuri, do you have any other questions?
I have a suggestion. Is it possible? Can you write a small description about what this class implementation does? Like
yeah,
on the top.
It is already documented in Tosca.
Oh, I see.
It is already documented in Tosca. That's the reason.
Yes, but is it possible? Can you add like the way operation definition? We have a small description, like something like that. So
Exactly.
Please add a link to that section 1.4.
Or as something, a link. Yeah, that's a good idea. Or link or something, just so people will understand what exactly this functionality does.
Exactly. So that's the reason, no, I don't want to give a much information about. So here it has the top level definition, that operation implementation. So everything it is documented, clearly documented. So what I'm trying to take, it's like right now I'm trying to take only the timeout and the operational host, the two things that I'm trying to take, and then it needs to be captured in the, as well as in the UI. That is the point. Even I can do that, but at the top you could see that mapping over there.
Brinda, please provide a link to this URL so that you open a class, I can start reading right away from there. In general, it's just confusing. Because you are pre-assuming that everybody understands this document and where to search. It's generally not the case. So
sure.
Please add links. Like, do not make that assumption, please.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Sure. So whatever I have said, it's given here so that you could understand that. Okay, host or self, and finally this property, what the property self, or it is going to be a selector. Tomorrow it will be going to be a gRPC client selector or any other selector. So right now we are supporting only for self, but later point of time you may support once you are trying to get, or once you are working in a distributed fashion, this operational host, it's going to decide that where it has to execute. That's all I have with respect to implementation, and even I will do the documentation for that. I will try to map the implementation there.
Any other questions on this topic? Okay. Brinda, I think there was one more item that we sent to you. Let me just quickly check.
Sure.
What it was. The metadata. Oh, okay. The metadata section. There was a question about, do we need the metadata section still in the actual definitions, or can we use Tasca meta? Because I know you have few examples where you have template name and version in Tasca meta itself.
Exactly. Let me try to talk about that. Okay. So we may need two different options also. So whatever we are trying to capture here in a Tasca.meta, that completely talks about the CBA meta, not that blueprint metadata. Blueprint metadata, it's a completely different. Here, this meta, it's only talks about what is the name, versions, and then high level thing about the CBA. It doesn't talk about the internals of that CBA and then placeholder or what kind of property that we want to capture in a CBA. Okay, so mostly I'm trying to expect these three things. Okay, or what are the things presented here, right? So it's a Tasca meta file. This is not going to change. This is not going to change. It's a name. Okay. Even you can maintain the same thing, or during the enrichment process itself, what it is trying to do, it is trying to take this value only from the Tasca meta, and it is trying to append, or it is trying to append this information in the actual blueprint actually. So whenever you try to generate and whenever you try to enrich, at the time this enrichment process will override only those properties. One is a template tag, template version, and template name. Okay, and not more than that. Okay, so only those information. Rest other informations, and you can keep that meta. It is a freestyle, right? So you can create any meta in order to capture what kind of information you want to capture that. Okay, so there is no restrictions on that. Okay, number of meta or what kind of meta information you want to create. So later point of time, think about like I want to have a data dictionary context. I want to include a data dictionary context. So in that case, I can define the data dictionary context, and then I can put that what is the data dictionary context here. So, and then right now we are not using that group, and most probably it's like I am not recommending the use of groups here. Just ignore this user group and don't manipulate the user groups. Rest other things, it is up to us, the metadata definitions. It's like how we want to use, and internally how we want to refer that metadata inside our programming or inside our function. Okay, so that is the reason I feel that two different meta we need that. One is with respect to only the CBA level identification, which doesn't have access to, or which doesn't pass that information. This meta we won't pass that information inside the blueprint. Suppose if we want to access that some information, so some key properties information other than the DSL, okay, then we can use that metadata and we can refer inside our programming.
So just to come back to the point I think you were trying to make, the task within task meta, you have tags, template name and template tags and version. As part of the enrichment process, that information will be then also updated, right, inside the blueprint itself?
Exactly, exactly.
So I need to, but then you're also saying that we can add additional stuff here. So in the, I guess the topology blueprint, we can have our own metadata section for managing that blueprint overall. Exactly. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so that, I think I have an idea of what I will tell Sarah to do.
Exactly, but this is the entry point. Whenever if I'm trying to extract the package, assume that you are giving a CBA file in a zip format, then I'm not going to look that metadata initially inside that code or inside the service template. Why? Because I don't have that access. I'm not aware of what kind of service template. Either it is a DSL or it's like a JSON format, whether it's a valid format or non-valid format. I'm not going to look into that. First, we are going to look into the Tasca meta to understand that what is the name, versions, and what kind of entry point, and where exactly that particular file, definition file. So this is the starting point when you try to give as a zip file. But inside the coding, once assumption is like you have completed the CBA and now you are during that execution, you are doing the runtime. During the runtime, I want to get some properties which is defined in that model. At the time, this meta will come into picture.
Okay, so Sebastian, on your side of the house for Frankfurt release, you also have to, I guess, make some updates to your set of CBAs to include the metadata within the task.meta file itself as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so just make sure you keep that as.
Okay, so we're gonna have to. Okay, so this is for Frankfurt, right?
For Frankfurt, yes.
Okay.
And last patch, I have that last patch. So which it talks about. 1 second. Just I included that meta for our all ONAP repository CBAs. Okay, let me show that particular patch just. Yeah, in this patch I included the missing metadata. Suppose for an example, whatever present inside our ONAP, okay, I fixed that. I included all those things and then I fixed that renaming. Another important thing it's like that template name and then entry definition name, okay, it should match. Okay, that is one thing. And another important thing, it's like the template name, it should be unique always. It should be unique. So don't try to replicate or name that template name as a common name, because I have seen that in UAT. Let me pass over that. Yeah, this name we are using so many times. So many templates have this name, right? The configuration over risk conf as a common name throughout that. So just I rename to a unique name. So that name should match with that blueprint template name as well as the folder name. If you are trying to create a CBA file with the VNF config API, so that is nothing but the actual name of the template, and that is the actual name of that entry file too. And moreover, another important point, it's here. Just we want to come up with the naming conventions and standards. Some places I could see that hyphen separated, some places I could see that underscore separated. So I believe this is the right time to take a naming convention. Okay, how we want to have that, either hyphen separated or underscore separated. Why? Because based on that, during that enrichment process and then packaging, okay, the package name, it is going to generate based on this template name. So if you're writing a script, and then the script package should be unique, and it should have a cba.pnf.config.ani. Okay, so we need to follow that proper packaging conventions, so that if you try to deploy your two different modules or two different packages in the same VM, and even though if it shares a common class loader or class path, it won't conflict. So you can directly navigate to the corresponding package implementation, package file implementation, even though file name remains the same, right? So in that case, it will be very helpful in future, so that it is now it's the right time to take a decision on or formatting the names to a standard format, and as well as we follow that standard convention for packing also, package name also for the scripts.
So I would vote to go with underscore rather than hyphens.
Yeah,
and you want to have
Underscore the better, yes.
And another important point also, only the velocity supports hyphen separated annotations even for a JSON property. So always it's better to have a camel case data type name definitions or even the JSON definition. Okay, so in that case, while mashing up, if you try to mash the JSON and the template, it will be easy. Otherwise, like other engines, they won't support that hyphen separated even for a key value for JSON. So only the velocity supports that hyphen separated key value. Even free market doesn't support, and many other framework doesn't support hyphen separated. So, so keep in mind that during the data dictionary creation or dynamic template name creation or dynamic key creation, use a camel case, starting with small letter and capital letter for actual word or actual continuous word. So in that case, we can avoid that hyphen throughout the place, so that later point of time, if you want to use a different templating framework, we can easily migrate that. At the time, we don't want a data migration, and even we don't want that separate annotation for that JSON or JSON mapping with hyphen symbols. If you try to follow a same camel case format, like Java, we use that. In that case, we can avoid one more annotation. So performance-wise, also it will be good.
So Brinda, what you're saying is that all our data dictionaries today are hyphen separated for the most part.
Exactly.
The recommendation is to move towards the camel case instead of hyphen.
Earlier we discussed long brackets inside, at least inside the AT&T. I raised this point. I remember that, and at least in our open community also, we will start looking hereafter. Okay, at least we try to avoid a hyphen separated symbol, so that it will be easy for us in future perspective.
Okay, and for CBA naming convention, is underscore still good, or do you also want to use camel case there?
Underscore, it's fine. Okay, I'm fine with underscore. Yeah, underscore. I'm fine with underscore. It's like one thing is like we want to follow a common pattern. That's a good one thing that I want to.
Okay, so maybe we just do everything camel case then. All right. Anything else, Brinda?
No, that's all I have. And any other topic, if you want to discuss, even I have a time. If you want to discuss, we can take further.
So, Yuri, I had one addition point in, like when we are changing this to camel case and all, you remember yesterday or day before yesterday, we were discussing that policy is returning something like service.service instance ID. That dot need to be replaced with underscore there then, or camel case then. It's like nowhere it will work.
Yeah, exactly. That dot separated is a different annotation altogether. So the dot annotation won't work inside the JSON, or at least it will treat us like another property, that styled property.
Those are policy conventions themselves that they're passing it to us as is. The issue there is that policy convention is not just being followed, it's being followed in SO and SDC, so policy team would have to make massive changes to change their way of passing the data. So that, I don't know if we can work around at least those two attributes, but everything else, I think, we can probably change around if necessary.
So in that case, before sending that, you can translate that value, even hyphen separated or dot separated. That will be fine.
How do we translate?
Sending to CDS.
Where do we translate that?
Before sending to the CDS, you can read the JSON and then see that change that value, change the key value.
You're saying in policy?
Yeah. Before
Right,
sending
right.
to CDS.
They don't want to do that. So.
Right, they don't want to build
it's a back and forth for a couple of weeks now.
And then similarly, CDS doesn't want to do that for dot support.
Right. All right, so good points. I think for the most part, we can look into maybe the data dictionary moving to camel case, and the CBA naming convention also camel case or underscore. Anything else, Kapil, Brinda, you guys have, or anyone else wants to bring up?
Okay. So I may be hard in this actually because it is a velocity. So we don't want to write a velocity engine once again to support that dot, or we don't want to find an alternate engine to support that dot.
Yeah, we are not gonna. We're not using the dot in velocity. We found like a way to translate the dot to just be hyphen.
Exactly. That is the point I'm trying to bring. So we rely on those frameworks, right? Okay. And then we need to follow the certain naming convention, and that too, velocity has that some grace on us by providing hyphen separated in order to support a Yang model definition properties. But other frameworks they don't support, and even velocity of 2x version. I think I'm not sure whether that hyphen is going to support or not.
But hyphen is within the key name or to separate the key value?
Key name, in the key name.
Oh, in the key name. Oh, okay.
So velocity also doesn't support the dots. So like, just be aware if you have a.b.c as a variable that you try to access, it will not give you that. It actually it has a different meaning for like dot something. It actually tries to do something else.
I don't think that's what we witnessed with Kapil earlier this week, where we had a key that was containing dot, and when we were using it in the velocity template, using the dot around with surrounded by curly braces, we were getting the value.
Okay, maybe
let me explain that.
That's not what I told you, Steve.
The dot denotes in a velocity, it's nothing but the child object, okay, in that. So if you are trying to frame a key of a dot and you are passing as a JSON, so it means it won't treat as a JSON there. So there
exactly, yeah.
That is the point.
Yeah, but in the case, it's the policy case. So they have service instance ID with the value being whatever the service instance ID value is. But we were able to resolve, and we saw this with working with Kapil, is that if we specify the service instance ID inside curly braces of velocity, then it will resolve the proper value. It will not try to figure out that there is a JSON object called service with it a property service instance ID. It will give you the value.
Yeah. Okay. It may be.
No. Actually, if I remember correctly, when we changed that to hyphen, it worked, but with the service dot, it was not working.
It was not?
No.
Remember, Sebastian, you asked Kapil to change something to hyphen?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I got it mixed up. Yeah, sorry for that. You're right.
Okay.
I remember now.
So, all right, very good. So I think, Sebastian, from Bell perspective, you don't see any issues with moving to camel case with data dictionary?
Well, to be frank, I'm not going to ask everyone to change their data dictionary to use camel casing. I'm okay with the convention. I'm not okay with enforcing it, because if it works for them, they don't want to go around and go through all the CBA package and change the camel casing. So
that is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I'm okay with the convention going forward. I'm fine with it.
Yes.
But
So one thing you may have to do is like create the camel case dictionary so that for future stuff you just stick to that standard itself.
yes, and I can communicate that also internally to tell them that we want to use camel casing to prevent issue with other templated engine.
Right. And Abdil, from your side, do you have any concerns to move towards camel case?
No, it's okay.
Okay, all right, so that's it. I think anyone else have any other questions?
No, I'm good.
All right, so thank you very much, Brinda and Kapil, Sebastian, and the team for sharing the feedback. At this time, I wanted to go through OOM. So I know we're past our time, so if you guys need to drop, you can drop. But Oleg, Pratt, and Abdil, if you guys can stay on so that we can go through the OEM Helm chart and see what needs to be changed so that we can get CDS Frankfurt up and running.
Yep.
All right, so let me, do you guys want me to share what we currently have?
Yes, please.
All right, give me 1 second. I can see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
So let me quickly get to OOM. All right, I'm doing master.
Before that, anyone please try to explain that trying to do here?
We have a lot of differences between CDS and OOM CDS application properties.
Okay.
I think when we deploy CDS through OEM, it just doesn't start, right? That's the problem.
Yeah, it looks for those configuration files which we don't have it, and
Oh, so it's
and it
just the
crashes.
application properties to change.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. And we going to separate out that Helm charts outside OEM and trying to put under CCSDK or CDS project?
Yes, we will do that. There's some changes that OOM team, Mike Elliott, is working on in order to enable to do that, because we not only we want to do that for CDS, we also want to do that for naming microservice and other DG Builder and Netbox and some other stuff. So there's some we're dependent on some changes in OOM, and then Dan is creating the CCSDK repo. We'll do the transformation and migration. All right, so let me.
Are you taking that latest master?
So I took the latest master for OM, and now I'm gonna go to CDS application properties. So we have CDS microservices, blueprint processor, patients. Application properties. Okay, here we go.
So the one on the right is the one from CDS.
This is from CDS. This is from OOM. Okay. So what do we see? So first is the resource mapping. I see there's some difference here.
Yeah, they don't have the updated one.
Yes.
What was that?
Which
AI
what is
data
it
source,
missing?
capability source.
Oh, it's missing Vault.
Yes.
I think that's what's missing.
You're right.
Guys, the part that you need is I sent you an image. Just check at the very bottom. It's attached.
This one?
No.
Oh, you sent me a separate image.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Endpoint username and password? Yep. Hold on one second. See, that endpoint username and password is right here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but it's encrypted now.
Wrong format, yes.
Yeah.
So we need to change the values of this?
Yep.
Okay. So that one.
But you also need the base URL and all that other stuff.
Yes, that's not there.
Okay. So is it a thing that we can just copy what we have in CDS and just paste it in OM as is?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay. All right. So let me ask Oleg, do you want to do this one?
Sure,
Yeah.
I'll put it in. We've tested this yesterday anyways.
Okay. All right. So that, because I know that we added it, but now you're saying it's encrypted, and that's why it's not working because it's encrypted itself.
It seems like it. Because oh, see, we have two. We have endpoint username on the right, which is CCSDK, and then what's the other one at the top, at the bottom, where it's encrypted?
No, this oh yeah. I think
Well,
so. The
it's
top
the
one is
exact same thing?
commented. The top one is commented. See?
Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
But there was also another redundant feature that I think I've seen yesterday. Is the one for like command executor that start remote something. There was one that's like blueprint processor, another one that was blueprint processor. One of them is redundant. I forget which one.
Okay.
I'll send the patch for this. Don't worry.
We can ask Brian Freeman and Mike to merge it.
And can you go down a little bit? There's a difference in the host name of the Python remote executor for gRPC. It changed from CDS command executor to localhost. Is that correct? Because I don't think it is.
Localhost is not correct. It should be CDS command executor. But guys, moving forward for OEM, we've noticed that there is an issue with 63 character limit from Kubernetes. So we should really shrink the names of everything down, because you will end up with like A.B.C.D, where each one of the letters is fairly long. And then you will run into issue creating Kubernetes objects. So we gotta make things a bit shorter anyways.
But the name is
also keep that in
CDS
mind.
command executor. Are you talking about
Yeah, so
the name of the service and everything?
Yes, make all those things shorter. Do not make them like 40 letters. So just make it CDS CE. It relays the same information.
Yeah, but maybe we have to work on the charts also to stop
Correct.
adding like 40 extra character for the the release name, and then the namespace, and then whatever, and then we end up with ONAP CDS ONAP CDS command indicator.
Exactly. I'm just bringing this to attention that
Yeah,
since we are going to be redoing the OEM part anyways, we might as well address this issue. And before I said that it did not make sense to address this issue because it was just this is a perfect time. That's all.
So was the application property the only issue you found, Oleg, with the latest OM?
Well, it unblocked me what I've had. The issue that I had with this, it unblocked me. I have not checked for other things. It's possible there are other things, but again, that's all I looked at right now.
Oleg? I have a question. Have you checked, because since they have a combined health check, right? Let's say you don't deploy a CDS SDC listener, and you just deploy the blueprint processor. Does health check fails, or what exactly happens? Spot crashes or what?
I'm not exactly. I did not see it fail because I have removed the SDC listener deployment, and the blueprint processor application is still running. so I'm not exactly sure what that thing is doing. But I was under the impression that it was also like application level check, like let's say if CBA starts, and at least that's how it was described before, that it can do some checking.
Okay.
I think that's it if there are no more issues.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else, team?